Starting now? No, it's not. Yeah. Tell me when to start speaking.
Even now.
Hello and welcome to everybody. I wish I could be with you, but you know, at 194, it's a rather long trip for me to be making, even to see you. But you were always so welcome back to your old alma mater.
My name is Lynn Fleming Aeschliman. I'm chairman of the board of TASIS The American School in Switzerland. I was the first student of TASIS back in 1956 when my mother founded the school, and I've been part of TASIS ever since my birth, basically.
TASIS began as a summer program. Starts off with the kids loving it so much, they beg Mrs. Fleming to start a school.
I was one of the first students in the original summer program, Swiss Holiday. I was one of the first students to go. I was very close to Mrs. Fleming. I really understood how remarkable she was, and what she achieved was extraordinary. The interesting thing about Mrs. Fleming's background is she grew up outside of Philadelphia, but she was a European at heart. Mrs. Fleming decided to move her first program to Switzerland.
She was a great mother. She wanted to find a school for her 3 children and offer us a great education in Europe.
I wanted my children to be educated in Europe, to become world citizens, and seeing what happened to them, I realized the experience should be shared with other children.
The first campus was outside of Locarno, called the Villa Verbenella Alta.
Well, Verbenella revisited.
I remember the night we arrived.
That's amazing. Very
exciting,
amazing.
beginning a whole new life.
I know, it certainly changed our lives.
We arrived in the middle of the night, and that's when she steps out on the terrace and sees the beauty of Ticino on the lake. And then she, in August, decides to start TASIS, the American School in Switzerland.
It should have been American School in Switzerland. Break it down, it spells asses. She was horrified by that. So it became the American School in Switzerland.
I arrived here at 3 a.m. in the morning on a moonlit night. But this lake in the moonlight at that time of night, I said, here there must be a school. It is too beautiful, too inspiring for young people to live in such a setting.
I went to Swiss Holiday as a junior counselor, drove a little VW bus. I got to drive it because I was 18 instead of 16 like the kids.
We camped out and we went all over Europe. We had some extraordinary adventures.
This is my passport, and this is every page of the passport, and in places you wouldn't think we could get to. It was just a lot of fun.
And then we got too big for the premises, and she moved us over to Lugano.
I knew that the school couldn't be in a rented property indefinitely. So in 1960, I moved the school from Loreto to Montagnola.
I remember very well Mrs. Fleming going to look at a property up in Montagnola, and it was owned by a doctor. He was just so difficult that she just got up and said to him, I can buy anything on this hill that's better than this house. And she bought De Nobili.
I bought Villa De Nobili for 500,000 Swiss francs, which was a steal even in those days. I've never been afraid to take risks, And happily, Swiss banks have finally given me loans. I now collect mortgages like most people collect charms for their bracelets.
We were in Denobili, but then winter came and she had forgotten that there was no heating. So the way she solved that problem was she took everybody to Andermatt for 6 weeks. That's how the ski program was born. Mrs. Fleming was larger than life.
And she walked into a room. The room stopped.
She always looked fantastic. She always looked the part.
My mother used the same Revlon lipstick for 80 years. Cherries in the Snow it was called, and very bright red. She always carried in her brassiere.
You always knew when she was on campus. You could just feel it in the air.
La Signora's coming. Going. We all cinch our ties up.
Mrs. Fleming had the most extraordinary memory for names.
She introduced me at the school assembly. I want to introduce you to my son-in-law's brother. Some of you might be thinking that this is nepotism, and what I want to tell you is you're absolutely right.
She taught me that you have to be dramatic to keep people's attention.
When she left a room, you could feel the energy go with her, always. She really, on a molecular level, changed the space around her.
She raised us as a single mother, gave me great opportunities and a great role model. When she started the school, women weren't allowed to have signature rights at bank accounts, but women could do anything. The impossible just took a little bit longer to do, so that's the way I was raised. We were asked very early on to take responsibilities and grow up fast. I was always there to help her from age 10 on, working and decorating and just being part of whatever had to be done. We all had to pitch in.
Looking back, it was kind of a gamble. There was an energy about it because a lot of us were young. You know, a lot of the teachers were fresh out of college. Everybody was having experiences at the same time, including young people and teachers. I remember the early days very fondly because it felt like you were a pioneer. You were one of the originals to help the school to succeed and get on the map.
When I went to TASIS, we met in New York City and boarded a ship to Naples, Italy. It was a completely unique and new way of teaching students, telling them what they were going to see, letting them see it, and we never knew what we were going to experience.
I've been part of every campus since the early 70s. My first day on the job, meet Mrs. Fleming, and the first thing she said, let's have a drink. Can you make me an old-fashioned? She said, well, my dear, anyone who works for me at TASIS has to know how to make an old-fashioned.
I really haven't had that many old-fashions.
She served as my mentor. She was almost like a second mother to me. She always made you feel like you were not working for her, but working with her. And that ability to connect with people and build relationships is legendary.
I turned 30 the first year I worked here. I was just challenged on so many different fronts. And just the luck of being able to work so closely with Mrs. Fleming. And you know, she was 76. She would hand people responsibility that they didn't know they could handle, they wouldn't even dream of asking for. Yeah, you know, when you think about it, the only job I ever applied for was my first year of teaching. Ever since that, it was Mrs. Fleming or Mrs. Fleming and Lynn telling me what I should do next.
The early school, from the early time, 56 on, this school was 95% Americans. It was quite a different world. The market was changing. The Vietnam War had a heavy effect on the school. When the Vietnam War came on, young men lost draft deferments for being in school. And the 70s were rough with the oil crisis. The American dollar lost a lot of its value against Swiss franc. And that was a mortal threat to the organization. So it was by no means certain that the school was going to survive.
There were tough times, and we had to make some tough decisions. In the middle 70s is when we decided to go to England, because at that point we even thought Lugano was going to be not viable for a school given the high cost of the Swiss franc. But it was an exciting time because you never knew from one day to the next what was going to be the next challenge facing you.
From the late 70s on, we began to have a really great increase in international students, non-American students. So that dramatically and decisively changed the school.
There's over 12 or 13,000 international schools around the world. And when Mrs. Fleming started TASIS, there were fewer than 100.
Originally, the school started out as being strongly American. That was the first time that American corporations and American industry moved to Europe. But it very rapidly became very international, which was the real reason for my establishing the school, was to have young people from all over the world come and live in a community where they would be living, playing, working with each other, and come to some understanding.
Mrs. Fleming's life was very influenced by both the Depression and by the war. And I think that encouraged her to try and think of a solution to a more peaceful world.
In 1979, I was the advisor to this 10th grade Iranian students. At that time, the atmosphere in the U.S. was very anti-Iranian. To be painting all of these people as enemies struck me as so wrong. I have this Iranian advisee who's the sweetest and most interesting young person I think I've met in a long time. So my world was broadened, and it gave me a very different perspective. I think that's the value of a TASIS education.
TASIS has become more of an international school. People from completely different language backgrounds, completely different culture, became friends, both staff members and students. They made a community, TASIS community, the memories of which they never forgot.
Let's have a round of applause for International Week 2026.
Part of that TASIS experience is just opening up your mind to the world and really becoming a global citizen.
I think it was inspirational to me for Americans learning their place in the world. When you're living in this country and you don't travel, you become very isolated, I think. And TASIS really provided that for me, was a worldwide view. And I wanted to go everywhere because of TASIS.
When I first got here, I was doing 5 in-pro travel trips a year, which is a pretty humbling experience because we're talking about some of the highest, most civilized places in Europe.
The first impact of seeing Mont Saint-Michel, Piazza Signorina in Florence, the first time you see some of these wonderful places that you've heard about all your life is something that you just never forget.
I'm inspired by our students. I think our kids get along in a way that we all can learn from. Sometimes the stuff that we fight over as adults means less to them when they're sitting together and sharing a meal or sharing a room, and they just have to look past all that to the humanity of each other, and I think that's part of what Mrs. Fleming hoped would happen.
I came with my sister. I was a 7th grader, she was a 9th grader. I remember being very, very young, but also felt very overwhelmed. We settled in, and this place has a magic to it that it really becomes home. I would probably say that it helps everybody find themselves. I think I discovered my inner voice at TASIS.
I committed many follies in an effort to create as many schools as possible, opening and closing several schools, dangerously near starting ones in Spain, Turkey, and Budapest. The constant need of a challenge sounds like a disease, doesn't it?
Well, you couldn't live with Mrs. Fleming and not have challenges and difficult times. We had a college called Fleming College, which was going through some upheavals.
The faculty and Mrs. Fleming had problems in the way the school would evolve.
When push came to shove in a major vote, Mother held her ground on her values. She wasn't back because she wanted to maintain the standards of TASIS. So my mother said, not in my house.
She fired everybody.
I asked her why she fired the headmaster of the postgraduate program, and she said, because he wouldn't uphold my standards. Just like that. She got up and said that in my face, you know.
The faculty and the students formed Franklin University.
I should quickly say that the relationship between TASIS and Franklin have been very friendly for many, many years. But in the beginning, they weren't so friendly.
When I asked her in her late career, do you have any regrets? She said, I only regret the things I didn't do, not the things I've done. And so, yes, we had some failures. There were always opportunities to stretch yourself and to get things done that you maybe didn't think you could do, which is, I think, part of the American entrepreneurial spirit that drove her and has been a secret of the TASIS success.
It's very difficult to follow Mrs. Fleming. It is wonderful that Lynn has taken on a very difficult job and is doing it so brilliantly.
It's my pleasure to introduce to you the person who's responsible for much of the change that has happened at TASIS in the very recent past. The Executive Director of the TASIS Schools, Lynn Aeschliman.
We're in this transition right now. You know what's changed, I guess, is there was no question what the mission of the school was. Mrs. Fleming was the school. So the change, it's in this transition. As she's retreating, it's interpreting her mission and having everybody on board with the same interpretation. Yeah, that actually gives rise to a little bit of conflict.
Good evening and a warm welcome to each of you.
It's always very difficult, and especially between one powerful lady who has a vision and the next.
She was autocratic. I think Lynn and Michael would agree with that.
So welcome, will you stop shooting?
Having been part of my mother's life and working, we wouldn't always agree, but we worked closely together. Watching budgets pretty carefully, I was wondering why we're always in debt with these huge mortgages, et cetera. And there was a huge embezzlement problem with a business manager at the time. And at that point, there was a real rupture, and Mother backed him versus me. So we left. We packed up our kids, moved to America, and wandered around, starting a new life in America.
10 years that I was really academic dean, that decade, Lynn wasn't involved in the school. And I don't know exactly what was going on in Mrs. Fleming's mind, but that was the time when she was figuring, what is the next step? She always used to say, if and when I die, not when.
I should supposedly be presently dead. But it's been a very busy spring, and I haven't had time to get around to dropping dead.
To preserve the school, she put a lot of thought into creating the foundation, really wanted her children to be involved to some extent.
About 10 years later, I suppose, people were saying, I think you need to start approaching the school and your mother, and the school may need you. I became executive director of both schools, which is what she was. But then I realized this is just way too much. And I couldn't do justice to both schools. I had to choose one.
But like any story, this is mother-daughter, that there was a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, different styles. There's a lot of human drama there.
The first year, she was not always happy with everything I was doing because I took over. I was implementing changes, and she was not a happy camper. And I said, look, give me 1 year to run the school. If I don't do a good job, I'll happily step down and you can fire me, whatever. Finally, at the end of the year, I stayed on. We survived. She handed over power and was always very proud of me and grateful. So it was a political minefield, but it went very well and peacefully.
It's just remarkable where the school is today. And it's all thanks to how that transition from what I call the founder, Mrs. Fleming, to the builder, Lynn, did happen so well. And that the school is truly run by this amazing board. And that Lynn as chairman works so well with this board. And I would say she would probably look back, Mrs. Fleming herself, and think that's her greatest achievement.
When I attended TASIS, the campus was much smaller, probably half or a third of what it is now.
When we started, we had the bubble. We had lots of temporary housing. We had prefabricated dorms.
We shared bathrooms with 20 people. It was an entirely different experience.
We have spent the last 2 years not only designing a master plan, but getting permission for master plans on both campuses.
Right now there's this tremendous push with the building campaign. So there's always been this spirit of something happening, of some progress. We were a small school under 300 students with a small campus. How do you make this a viable school 20, 30 years hence? What kind of a campus do you have to have? How do you develop it? It was Lynn who saw the potential of this campus.
Yes, my mother, as the founder, was always interested in moving on and starting other programs. She is a real pioneer. She wanted to move this school to Geneva. For her, it wasn't a permanent base. And I said, wait a minute, this campus has the loyalty of alumni, and this is our home base. We've got to make something permanent here.
I think we were about to build a gymnasium, which we obviously needed after the bubble. And she said, wait a second, you got to do a master plan. You don't just build a gym and go one building at a time. You got to have a vision for the future. Lynn saw it as for survival of the schools.
In some ways, Lynn and I found each other. She came along at the right time for me. Lynn showed up and she was looking for an architect who does exactly what I do. She brought me up to TASIS for an interview and said, so young man, what would you do for us if you were our architect? And I said, okay, well, you have this village next to your campus called Certinago, and I put my hand on the map of Certinago, and I said, you have the same size land around Monticello, and you could build the village around Monticello and preserve all the rest of your campus. She said, that's great, you're hired. I mean, the problem was they wanted to build a palestra because the famous bubble, which was there for 30 years and was leaning and leaking and about to fall down. The idea was to build a gym, and because it was the biggest building, everything had to follow on that. Essentially, after we positioned that building, everything else fell in place after that.
September 9th, I moved into my mother's desk office. David was at the other end of the room with this long wooden table and produced the original master plan of this campus. And it was just golden, just magnificent. And the beginning of the master plan, the Global Village.
The opening of the new library is a historic event. The new library and piazza are enjoyed to behold in all their majesty and will quickly become the heart of our school.
When people come on this campus, they're just amazed by the community spirit, the joy of the campus. So therefore, anything I do with David, we certainly plan on its effect on young people. I mean, it's created for them. We try to create something as beautiful as possible.
It's a beautiful campus, my gosh. How lucky are we? I think of it as a Hilltown village now, that's been carefully built, carefully designed, and now serving the function of a really first-rate school. To have been selected by the Architectural Digest as the most beautiful school in the world, talk about a milestone. You don't get any better than that.
Campus already looks different than it did in 1995. And the plan is that by 2029, everything will be complete.
I've gotten to do something really special. I have a lot of jealous colleagues. They all think, wow, you got to build an environment that shapes people's lives. And I feel really, really lucky.
It's certainly been part of my life and part of my passion and part of my obligation to finish this job. I think we have 6 buildings more to go.
Service and leadership, these are key elements, I think, of Mrs. Fleming's vision. She wanted young people to come to TASIS and then go back to their home countries and make a difference.
The global service mission statement, it's all about building empathy, building compassion, not just for yourself, but for us as a planet.
As an institution, I think we have probably one of the best global service programs in the world.
Well, they do service. They can build a retention wall. It can be tutoring. I mean, it's meant to be work done there and experience what they need and help. And I feel confident that TASIS has that platform to generate those people that can be world leaders and make it your mission to do good. We need some new world leaders.
I mean, the school has evolved tremendously. Back when we were here, it was a boarding school, 7th through 12th grade. Now it's elementary, pre-K, all the way through 12th. So that alone changes that community.
The opening of the elementary school was extraordinary and very visionary of Lynn. And then the school started and became such an incredible success and obviously fulfilled a need in Lugano.
Lynn had wanted to start an elementary school here really from the 80s on. But Lynn said, the school ought to stay here. And if it's going to stay here, it has to have a local market.
Lynn was very focused on doing K through 12 and starting at kindergarten. And I just was like, no, that's really out of our wheelhouse.
So she developed that elementary school against everybody, even our foundation. Almost nobody thought it was going to fly. But the fact was she took a risk, she took a big risk, and then she worked incredibly hard. So now you've had a market that has been partly developed because of the reputation of the school. And that's Lynn's victory.
There's nothing more important than elementary education. You know, that's where it all starts. And I think Lynn has her mother's entrepreneurial spirit and been able to bring the TASIS vision to so many more students because of that.
So the school has just continued moving forward from heights to heights, really. It's truly something to be proud of.
For young people, beauty is a very, very important aspect of life on this planet as a basis for them to live in, to learn in, and to get together in.
Not every school has a devotion to beauty, and Mrs. Fleming certainly did. The beauty of ideas, the importance of how beauty elevates our experience, that we should be creators of beauty, not just consumers of beauty. It's a way of looking at the world.
There is a beauty to kindness. There's a beauty to stretching yourself. There's a beauty to being the best person you can be, to being the best scholar you can be. I think that's why the mission means so much, is because it's getting at the heart of what it means to be a human.
You know, teaching is such a noble profession because we always have an impact on who has made a difference in your life, and it's usually teachers.
My favorite feedback is from my first summer. Fast forward 20 years later, and somebody shows up at my desk. And I said, well, what are you doing here? And she said, I haven't been back to Switzerland since I was here as a middle schooler, and I had to get on the train immediately. It was so important for me to come to TASIS. It was just an amazing moment that, 20 years later, she comes back and really wants you to know how much of an impact you're on her life.
Well, gosh, thank you for all coming. I'm here because I want to see you. I taught some of you. I lived in Belvedere with some of you. I was the academic dean to all of you. And those years, the late 80s and the 90s, they were really the defining years of my career. Oh, well, what touches me now is I'm getting so many messages, from alumni saying, I remember the trip to Florence where we did this, and I was having so much fun. Sometimes I'll be in a city or go to a museum or something, and I'm by myself. Well, this is a waste. I want to share that experience with a student. So I'll see the David a million more times. I'll go there all the time if I can have somebody else with me, if I can be introducing that to someone, if I can be sharing that. That's why I think teaching is so rewarding. If you have a little something you can share and see students respond, that's the name of the game.
We've had wonderful people who've come aboard and made their lives with TASIS.
So it's quite a collection of people who have been heavily involved with creating the school. So it's not just one person, it's not just my mother's vision. It's the people we invite to come in to be part of the community.
This institution has been made a particularly good institution because it has drawn out from very large numbers of people, it's drawn out what was best in them, and that's quite an achievement.
The gift of the Fleming family, of all of the TASIS schools and their properties to a nonprofit, the TASIS Foundation, I have to think that's a real defining moment for the school.
As I told the board, I feel confident the school will carry on well under you all, and that is very good reassurance.
There's a legacy we're living and been created with the Fleming family. What happens after we are no longer here is really our biggest job. Our job is to replace ourselves with people who can continue, Mrs. Fleming's dream.
The vision that Mrs. Fleming had about truth, goodness, and beauty, they were beautiful at the time, they're essential now.
I love Einstein's statement, leave the world a better place than you found it. And if we can do that with education, we're accomplishing something special.
Did I ever think the school was going to make 70? Well, I probably did because I was naive. I don't think my parents did.
Well, now it's clear those were just the first 70 years. I mean, there's no question. 70 years from now, there will be celebrations of a school. It'll still be uniquely important and significant.
TASIS to me, in one word, would mean formation. It forms you through the community, through its expectations, through the challenges, through the intellectual epiphanies. It leaves its mark wherever you go. You carry TASIS with you in your heart.
The best word to describe TASIS is emotion.
2 words, life-changing.
Family, connection, stretch.
Positively transformational.
TASIS opens people's minds to the world.
TASIS created a view to an alternate universe.
I met so many people on a kind of ideal plane.
It opened me up to all these opportunities.
Well, TASIS has made my life.
If you commit yourself to TASIS, I guarantee you it will give you back every bit as much as it gave to me.
TASIS inspires.
A woman has to have the last word, actually. And I just want to wish Godspeed to every one of you precious students. And would you please remember what I've told you all here, that you can make a difference. And I expect each and every one of you to make a difference, to make this a better world for all the humans that inhabit it. Godspeed and God bless you, and my love travels with you. Good night.